Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Jameson, and I am the CEO and founder of the Jameson Group. And I hope that you can join me this evening. Before I get started, I always want to acknowledge those who are still without lights and still without shelter, those who are still struggling from Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma. Just want to make sure that people know that we are sending out our prayers. Thanks so much for joining me, Dr. Smith and Davis and Kat and Judy, Dr. Bowman. Well, I wanted to share some things with you today that's been on my heart. It's a blessing that I get to work in ministry and in the marketplace, which is a really interesting combination. But I think there are six lies that I want to share. Hey, Ronald. Six lies that make us lose ourselves. Six lies that makes you lose you. Six lies that make you lose you. I can't even say it. But so I hope you have a pencil and paper. I'm sure my age, because some people might have an iPad. But I wanted you just to take some notes and think about what are some these six things that might impact you, and see if there are ways that these ideas ring true for you, and if not, that's fine. But I'm always interested to see how these concepts ring true to people in their professional life as well as their personal life. The first lie is this: there is a lie of authority. The lie of authority. And that lie says that somebody else knows what's best for you better than you know for yourself. Hey, Cece, it's a lie of authority. And I think that's so important because so often we abdicate our responsibility and abdicate our authority and agencies to pastors and to professionals and experts, as if we don't really know what's best for us. And it sets us up to hand over our power to people in profound ways. And I see that so often, not only as a minister, but in the marketplace, where we think that somebody else knows what's best for us better than we know for ourselves. But the truth is, the wisdom that we have is already in our souls, in our spirits. And it prevents us from tapping in to know what's best for us, and pushing back on people who want to push their thoughts and their beliefs and their perspectives on us. And I see that a lot in the marketplace. I see it a lot in church. And it's so important that we don't get so addicted to approval, that we don't get so addicted to validation, that we don't get so addicted to other people making us feel good about who we are, that we give them the responsibility to make decisions in our lives that we should be making for ourselves. Hey, Mary, I even say this, that even though I work with people in pastoral counseling as well as regular counseling, I always tell them, listen, you are in control. You have made the decision to seek therapy and seek assistance. You have made the decision. And I think we need to give ourselves credit for making decisions in our lives that honor us. So I just want to make sure that it's a lie that you have to abdicate your responsibility to others. It's a lie. You know what's best for you more than anybody else knows. You know what makes your heart sing. You know how to show up in the world. You know what you need. And when we walk into that, and when we understand that from a place of power, we won't give the reins of our lives to the gurus or to the pastors or to those authority figures. We know what's best for us, and we might have to dig a little harder to get past our pain to be able to hear and to function from our own internal compass. But our soul knows what we need, and our souls knows what we need to prosper, and our souls knows what we need to feel grounded. So that's the first lie, that somebody else knows what's best for you better than you know for yourselves. That's the law. That's a lie of authority. Hi, Marsha and Wenzel. The second lie that I think is so important that we identify is this law of adequacy, which tells us that we are not adequate, that we are not enough, that we don't know enough, we're not smart enough, we're not young enough. This lie that we are not enough. Now, the challenge is that when we start to believe that we're not enough, it really affects our ability, and we start really get into this self-hatred and this self-loathing. We start to forget about who we are, and we stop trusting ourselves, and we stop really being able to make our own decisions. We are enough. Hey, Jordan and Marcia, we are enough. And so it's important that we know that, because when you don't know that you're enough, you hustle for love. And when we hustle for love, that means that we start doing things. We will violate our ethics. We will violate our dignity. We will sell our souls. We will pimp ourselves out and prostitute ourselves for the highest bidder. And prostitute is just not about sex. We will prostitute ourselves and pimp ourselves out when we don't feel adequate, because we will rely on other people to validate our self-esteem and our self-worth. That's a very dangerous place, where you take your self-esteem and put it in the hands of another. And I don't care if that's put your self-esteem in the hands of an individual or institution, because some of the hatred is systemic. So I think it's important that we understand that all of the lies and the labels and the limitations that say that we're not enough because we are the wrong color, we're the wrong kind, we're the wrong clique, we're the wrong faith, we're the wrong sexuality, we're the wrong sexual orientation, is a lie. You are adequate, and you are more than enough, and you are loved. You are amazing. And it's important that you understand that you are a star, and not allow your identity to be dictated to you by someone who doesn't really love you, someone who doesn't really know you, or someone that does not even have the capacity to understand your greatness. Always remember that people with small minds can understand greatness. And so know that your greatness is something that other people might not be able to comprehend, nor to celebrate, nor to appreciate in a way that you deserve to be appreciated and not tolerated. So I want to make sure you know that. The third lie that makes us lose ourselves is this lie of affiliation. And that lie says that you're only worthy if you hang out or you associate with the right group, the right clique, right kind, right person. That's a lie. And so often we have bought into that, and that's why we do all types of things to be approved of by groups. That's why we try to keep up with the Joneses. That's why we buy things that we can't afford, trying to impress people who don't even care. That's why we do all these types of things, because we want to be associated with these groups. Hey, Renee and Shawana. So it's so important that we recognize that we have to understand that we don't need to be associated or affiliated with different groups. You are enough by yourself, and here's the blessing. Your deliverance is in you being different. Your difference is what makes you stand out. You don't need to look like and be like everyone else. And so I really challenge you to make sure that you open yourself up to be around people who are not kin to you or skin to you, to be around people who love differently, who live differently, people who lead differently. It's so important that I love what my pastor says, is that we need to make sure that our mind stays a garden, not a ghetto. And because ghettos are sameness, it's homogeneity, but garden means that your mind is diverse. It's open to changes, it's open to newness, and it's open to things that are outside of your comfort zone. And when we are open-minded and understand that there's this whole garden that we should interact with, it really exposes us to new ideas and new opportunities. We have to be careful that we don't limit ourselves to one type of group and one type of a kind, and that we don't think that our affiliation is based, our acceptance is based on one affiliation. I think that we limit ourselves. It's so important to understand that our affiliation is great, but we don't have to be regulated are dictated to by a group. So I think that's really important. So that's a lie. You will lose yourself when you think that you have to be affiliated to only one group, one kind, one faith. You will lose yourself because it will give you a ghetto mentality and not a garden mentality. Remember, a garden mentality is nurturing, is cultivating, is blooming. It's a lot of diversity. You want to make sure that your mind is always a garden and not a ghetto. A ghetto is there's no growth, there's no challenge, there's sameness, and there's nothing that can grow when you become average or you succumb to misery and mediocrity. That does not serve you because you are distinctly unique on purpose. That's the third lie. The fourth lie that is so important that we really assess is this lie of the ask. The lie of the ask. Hey, Felicia and Swan. And that lie says that if you ask questions or if you ask for what you want, that means that you are less than. That is a lie. We have so many people who are walking around blind and needing information, but they won't humble themselves to ask questions. It is so important, hey, Lucky and Deidre, that we ask questions, because without asking questions, you would never have clarity. Without asking questions, you'll never get what you want. Without asking questions, you'll never get what you need. And I don't know why we assign asking questions to feeling inferior. One of the most courageous things you can do is ask questions. If you don't know, go find out. Because ignorance is a choice, and we don't have to stay ignorant. I think so many times we want to hide behind not asking questions, but questions is what gives you power. It gives you clarity. Questions is what allows you to grow and to learn. Questions are what provides an opportunity for expansion and enrichment. Questions, we need to ask questions. We don't know all there is to know. And if you know everything, or if you think you know everything, that's evidence that you don't know much. So we want to make sure that we ask questions. I had a chance to speak this weekend in D.C., and one of the pastors, Anika Wilson Brown, she says that we need to strengthen our ask muscles. I love that. So the question is, are you strengthening your ask muscles by asking questions? Because if you don't know, how can you grow? And if you depend on your limited understanding, you will always again succumb to mediocrity. The answers are usually outside of your comfort zone. If you know better, if you knew the answers to questions, your life will be different. Ask questions. Questions are a sign of power. Questions are a sign of courage. Questions are a sign of competence. So ask questions. It's a lie to say that asking questions make you weak. Not asking questions is what makes you weak. Not asking questions is what shows your ignorance. Not asking questions is what shows your arrogance. Not asking questions is what keeps you small and wounded and limited. Not asking questions is something that makes you not have access to the information that you need to be all that you can be. So that's a lie. It's a lie to feel that questions make you less than. Questions make you more than, because that's how you get information. Hey, Natasha and Dr. Talisha. Hey, Michelle. The fourth lie is that the lie of action. And the lie of action says that all I have to do is pray. That's a lie. I am so tired of this Christian crap that you hear, that you just name it, claim it. You know, name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, call it, haul it. All that stuff is a lie. That's a lie. I don't know where that stuff comes from. It's not even biblical. So, and I know that we're all not Christians, but you hear all that. Oh, I'm just going to pray about it. You got to get to work. Now, prayer is wonderful, because we need prayer. I'm not saying that, but you pray, and then you plan, and then you perform, and then you produce, and you practice, and you pray, and you perform, and you plan, and you produce, and you participate, and you pray, and you perform. It all goes together. I don't know where I get this. I hear this so often. Oh, girl, I'm just praying. I'm waiting for a manifestation. Manifestation requires activation. You can sit there and manifest as long as you want to, but if you don't put some action behind it, you're not going to have anything. I hear it so often. Oh, I'm manifesting this. I'm just going to believe God. You better get to work. Faith without works is dead. Get to work, and then keep working, and then stick and stay, and be courageous and be committed. But first, have a plan. I don't know why we think that we can throw some good prayer at a bad plan. If it's a jacked up plan, it's a jacked up plan. Prayer, a jacked up plan. You cannot give 15 thank you Jesus on some crap. Remember, money moves away from mess. Money moves away from mess, which means that you want some money, you better have some prayer and a good plan. And because you need structure, you need systems. If you have a vision and a goal, I want you to think about it. If the vision and the goal is the car, the systems and the structures are the tracks. You need them all. Hey, Marquise and Paulette and Trina. So it's really important to stop all this madness that you manifesting. No, you need some activation with your manifestation, and you need some planning and participating in some preparation and some production with your prayer. You don't pray and sit down. That's a lie. And I don't know why we keep teaching that blabbing, grabbing, and calling it and hauling it and naming and claiming it is of the devil. That is not anything that is consistent with God or any type of spiritual principles. So that's the fifth lie. And the sixth lie is this. The lie is that you are alone. That's a lie. I think that we have to remember we're never alone. Even if we're by ourselves, that there's always some higher power. I call that power God. However, you're never alone. And I think that we have to be careful because people manipulate us by telling us that if we don't do what they want us to do, that we are alone. You're never alone. And if you are not able to understand that you have to follow your conscience instead of following the crowd, that you might have to stand alone, you'll never be able to do what you have been commissioned to do. I think that it's so important to understand that when you step out, I believe God, the Spirit, the source will send people to you when you step out on faith to do what you have been called or designed to do. But sometimes we say that we feel as if we are alone, and then we stay in cramped places. So instead of living in this palace of possibility, we stay in the cage of conformity. Or instead of living in this palace of potential, we live in this nest of normality. Or instead of living in this ranch of riches, we live in this cage of compliance. The question is, where are you living? You're never alone. I think that if we want to live in this space of opulence of opportunity, we have to understand that sometimes we have to stand alone, but we won't have to stand alone for long, but just stand alone. Your tribe will find you. Like-minded people will find you, but you can't stay in tight quarters to be comfortable and then wonder why you're not reaping the harvest or reaping your full potential. So I think those are 6 lies. You are never alone. And you might, and really, if you understand that you're never alone, that sometimes you have to be set aside and set apart so that you can have preparation to do what you have been called to do. Sometimes setting you aside is your preparation, because we will never be able to get promoted if we can't take some pain and we can't follow our own conscience and not the crowd. If you can't follow your own mind and you need the masses, or if you can't follow your own truth and you have to follow tradition, you already are limited. So it's important to understand that you're never alone. You always have yourself, and yourself is enough. And you and God is a majority anyway, right? So you're never alone. So 6 lies I want us to just go over really quickly, and I hope you wrote those things down, and I'll write them down too. 1, the law of authority. Remember, it's a lie. You know what's best for you better than any authority figure. You don't have to advocate your responsibility. You don't have to ask somebody's permission. Remember, the only thing you need to ask for is support. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. You don't need agreement. Only support. And if a person can support you, move on. Yes? So that's a lie of authority. Second is the lie of inadequacy. You are adequate. You are amazing. You are equipped with everything you need to be all that you need to be. And if you don't have it, you are equipped. 3, to ask the question and ask for resources. You're never without resources. You're never without anything that you need. You're already equipped. And so we have to walk in that knowing that we are equipped, and know that everything that we have been ordained to do, that there's always provision. right? When God gives us vision, God always gives us provision. The third is again, the lie of affiliation. You don't need to be accepted by any group, any clan. You don't need to be accepted by any type of association. Remember, you are not a slave to anything. It's okay to be a servant, but you're not a slave. And so you don't have to go along to get along. And so it's so important to remember that it's to be open to diversity. Make sure your mind is a garden and not a ghetto. Make sure your mind is enriched and not suffocated by the limited lenses of others. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind open so that you can be open to possibilities and open to potential, and you're not become a prisoner of someone else's paradigm. Remember, that's their paradigm. You don't have to follow it. The fourth thing is the lie of the ask. Asking is courageous. And many times our relationships break up because we won't say what we need or ask questions. Remember, the more we ask questions, the clearer we are about who we are, and the clearer we are about who we are not. Ask questions. Make sure in all you're getting, you get understanding. Yes. And the fourth thing is the lie of action. You gotta work. You gotta work. You cannot sit on your laurels. And the reason why you have wisdom is so that you can win. But you got to put your information in a plan. So often you see people who are highly informed, but they don't have improvement. Or they're highly skilled, but they have little success. So it doesn't matter if you have a lot of skill but little success. What's the difference? Work. Implementation. It doesn't matter if you have great enthusiasm if you're not executing, right? So don't be a person who has a lot of information and little improvement, or who has a lot of information but no initiation. We need to be able to move closer to our goals. We gotta go to work. We gotta do work, and we have to be consistent. And our work needs to be measured. Our work needs to have milestones associated with it. We have to have goalposts. We have to be able to assess if our work is working for us. So we have to be able to evaluate and to make changes while we're playing. You make changes when you're on the field. It's kind of like the iPhone. The iPhone didn't wait till it was perfect before it came to market. It came out, it was the iPhone 1. Now we're on iPhone 8. Why? Because they iterate while you're in the game. So get into the game and make improvements while you're on the field. Don't wait until this magical sense of perfection, because perfection is an illusion. And the last lie is that you are alone. You are not alone. There's so many people waiting for you, and some people are looking to find you, but they can't find you if you're standing in the crowd. So it's important to step outside so people can find you. Like-minded people are looking for you. Remember, you are a unicorn. All of us are unicorns if we are accepted, because we all are uniquely designed. But if you step out, we can find each other. But if you get suffocated by the crowd, or if you succumb to the crowd, or if you feel you don't have enough courage to step outside of the crowd, you will never be able to be and to have what you want to have. Those are 6 lies that make you lose. So I want you to challenge yourself this week and ask yourself, how are those 6 lies showing up in your life? Ask yourself, are the lies in any way impeding your progress? Are those lies in some way impeding your advancement? All of those lies in some way keeping you wounded, keeping you feel like that you're not acceptable, making you feel like you're not worthy, making you feel like you're less than. I have to be honest, when I was growing up, I used to always feel like I wasn't enough, and it kept me limited. It kept me not trying because I was allowing people to pimp my pain because I wanted to be accepted. So you are enough, and you're not alone. So think about this week how those 6 lies are inhibiting you from being all that you have been ordained to do. Think about how those 6 things are preventing you from being the amazing people that you are. And then also I want to invite you to come aboard with me and to continue these conversations. In 2 weeks, I'm starting this You Can Depend on You Masterclass, which we go over the 5 healing principles the 5 success principles to help you be all that you can be. It's the 5 healing principles that freed me from depression and an eating disorder and all the other self-destructive things that I was doing in my own life. It's based on my first book, I Can Depend on Me. So I want to invite you to consider being part of that class where we can have conversations together, have conversations not only with each other, but in community, because the best growth always happens in community. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm always grateful because there's so many other places that you can be. So thank you for being with me. Consider the 9 principles. I'll write the 9 principles down in this post. And I hope to see you for the You Can Depend on You Masterclass. And thanks so much for joining me tonight. Remember, it's alive. Know the truth. The truth will set you free. Yes? Blessings to you always. Know the truth. Blessings.